With the dead crawling all over, we needed a distraction. Something to keep the flesh eaters occupied so we could grab Bishop. We weren't dead killers yet, so we had to be a little more creative. And lucky for us, there were plenty of NRC birds in the sky, and the NRC's dead system still worked. Laser cannons built to auto-target any hostile aircraft.
So you created the diversion.
And Taylor's team prepped extraction. Unfortunately, it seemed our cover wouldn't last as long as we hoped. The remaining NRC noticed the radio silence from air traffic control, and it sent soldiers to investigate. Command set exfil for a satellite station off base. We reset the dead system to target one of the automated planes circling above. Turns out the undead have a thing for giant explosions, like moths drawn to a porch lamp. And all we had to do was turn on the lights. Unfortunately, we couldn't exactly control the landing. Hendricks alerted Taylor the bird was down and the diversion in play. We took out the NRC and moved. Bishop was being held underground in the security station across the tarmac. Hendricks ordered weapons down. The base was crawling with NRC soldiers and undead. No need to draw any. We crossed the tarmac. The tunnel ahead led to the security station. Hendricks took out the guards. I hacked into the system to find Bishop.
Why were the NRC still at the base? It was being overrun.
They needed the cure. They kidnapped Bishop's whole team and would do whatever it took to get their hands on it. They'd torture these researchers till the dead broke down the door and ripped them all to shreds if it meant they could save their people. It wasn't personal. It was self-preservation. With the secret out about Bishop's discovery, he'd become the most wanted man in the world. The NRC were just the first to grab him. It was every country for itself. Why do you think we were there? The Winslow Accord wanted the same thing the NRC did.
You can't rationalize anything when you're put up against the wall.
Nothing about this was rational. It was instinctual, animalistic, survival. He had been escorted to an interrogation room. We had to hurry. Behind us was an undead army. Once one got a whiff, the others would come running. Hendricks told Bishop who we were and that we had to move, but Bishop refused to leave without the other researchers, his friends. Our instructions were specific. Bishop was our priority. We didn't like it, but Bishop refused to leave without them.
It sounds like you were taking an awful risk.
He said for the cure to work, he needed them. They weren't expendable. Technically, we were.
In a way, you and the NRC were not so different in what you wanted and how far you were willing to go.
Our method was different. Our reasoning was not. No one wants to sacrifice themselves to save the world. But you like to think if the moment came, you'd have it in you.
Who was inside the cell?
Lieutenant Ziyed Khalil, member of the Egyptian army. Back in '65, he was a guard assigned to Bishop's research station. This was how we met. Hendricks cut him down and notified Taylor we were freeing the other hostages. Taylor said we didn't have the time. The base was swarming with additional NRC forces. They weren't letting their prize go that easily. There was a tunnel full of hostile soldiers between us and our exit. A cargo elevator ahead was the only way to the surface. No telling how close the dead were behind us. The remaining NRC forces were waiting for us above. They weren't about to let their prized prisoner go. If it meant getting the cure and saving their families, they were willing to die for it. And they weren't the only ones. We'd never seen dead killers in action before. To us, it was a spectacle. To them, it was just another day in the life. Wait a minute.
Do not be deceived by his lies. Remember your past. Remember when you first met John Taylor. Remember the truth.
Wait, this is wrong. This can't be real. I told you I met Taylor in Zurich during the 2065 Catardist Uprising, after I became a dead killer. But here I am with Taylor, and my limbs haven't been replaced yet. I'm still human. Why did you tell me that the first time I met Taylor was Zurich?
Focus. You need to complete this memory. What was Taylor's plan?
We were still on for exfil, but first we had to blow the bridge. We followed Diaz. Both undead and NRC forces were converging on our position. Hall grabbed us after the hangar. She was to take us to Moretti, so we could blow the bridge. After the bridge, we were forced inside a comm center. Moretti took point. The rendezvous with Taylor was an APC garage just ahead. We could hear the undead screaming towards us. But that wasn't all. A robot horde was moving in. Even Taylor would need some time to get the door open. We could hear the undead screaming towards us. But that wasn't all. A robot horde was moving in. And Taylor would need some time to get the door open.
You were forced into the garage. What happened there?
Hendricks wanted to go back and get the other hostages. Taylor said Bishop was priority. After all, he had the cure. The rest were just collateral.
What did Taylor do?
He volunteered to take his team to get the others. We were to take Khalil and Bishop to exfil. We got on the APC. Bishop was the most important man in the world right now. We had to get him to exfil if it killed us. The APC stalled on us. Hendricks had a minute to get it going. And the undead robots wanted to crawl over us. Came in too fast. The APC spun out and crashed. Hendricks moved Bishop into position. The drone evac was inbound. Once secured in the drop pod, it would return to collect. We just needed to hold back the horde.
What happened?
Airspace was compromised. They had to pull out. Bishop was priority. We were expendable. We heard taking calls. He was inbound and told us to hang on. No. I can't do this. I can't live this again. No. Please.
I am sorry. You must.
No, no, please!
If you wish to defeat Deimos, you must. To save the world, you must relive this.
I should have died. I felt myself fade. It was over. That was the day I met John Taylor. That was the day I became a dead killer.
That was the day you met Bishop, the man who found the cure, before he died at the Cairo aquifers. Moretti told you to find him.
On Moretti's instruction, we sought him out. We told him what we knew, which at the time was just a name, Deimos. He didn't know much, just that Deimos was responsible for the outbreak, and that a safe house in Singapore had a dossier on the guy. So we returned to Singapore. Little did we know, Gojulan had taken the city, and somehow gotten the undead to obey her. If we were gonna get to the safe house, we'd have to go through them. The vultures, sadistic scavengers, ravaged by atrocity and time, driven by fear and insanity. We saw their victims strung up on display the moment we arrived.
When forced against the wall, the impurities of man can be revealed.
It was more than that. This was survivalism. When only 1% of the world's population is human, you either died and became the undead, or you survived by preying on the living. These scavengers were well equipped. I suppose that's what you get when you prey on your fellow man. We made quick work of them. Hendricks took point down the alley. From the sounds of it, the dead knew we were coming. Clearly, Singapore was happy to have us back in town. Overwatch confirmed the vultures were converging on the safe house. Civilians spotted on site. We didn't know if we could get through without additional collateral damage.
It's curious, the vulture's behavior. Willing to kill the living and the dead alike without prejudice. Survival of the fittest at its most primal. They act with reckless abandon without thinking of the consequences. They had to know, the more they killed other humans, the slimmer their chances became.
Don't think of them as humans. They're animals. Abandoned by any form of governing body, they dictated their own society. They were tribal, nomadic. In their eyes, man was as much a threat as the undead. The scavengers began realizing they weren't the only humans in the area. It was a matter of time before Gojulan knew we were here. The safe house was beyond the gardens, but the gardens belonged to the dead. They smelled us lurking above. Before Hendricks could take him out, the scavenger alerted Gojulan. She knew we were here. Reinforcements were moving on a checkpoint nearby, along with more dead.
Why did they create these displays? What was the purpose?
They weren't just displays. They were art. A way to show off their work, lure their enemies with the dead bodies of friends. Vultures are territorial. They fought among themselves, sociopaths at war with everyone and everything, undead or fellow human. Either way, you were a predator competing over the same resources. And now we'd become prey baited into a trap. Malfunctioning ASP heard the commotion and joined the party. I needed to find a rocket launcher. The vultures beat us there, set fire to the facility. Gojulan announced herself over a PA. She was inside, and she had a special guest waiting for us. We cleared the plaza. All that was left was to get inside. The blast knocked us back. We heard the building creaking. It could collapse at any moment. Hendricks thought we should stand down. It wasn't worth it.
You push back.
We needed that dossier. At this point, it was our only lead to Deimos. I told Hendricks to call in exfil. I'd take the safe house. Bishop had told us the document was hidden in the panic room within the facility.
Who was in the panic room?
Her. Kane. Our guardian angel. Someone had beaten the hell out of her. Go Julan. She was there for the same thing I was. The same thing our friend was. The dossier.
Do it. Kill her. Kill his host. Prove yourself worthy.
Did you kill her?
I struggled. Panicked. I acted in the heat of the moment.
And the file on Deimos?
Most likely it was reduced to Kindle. Gone. Or so we thought. Hendricks called in transport. Singapore was another dead end. But we needed a few answers from Kane. Starting with who the hell was she? And what was she doing in an abandoned CIA safe house? The truth proved more eye-opening than we could have imagined. After the aquifers, we certainly hadn't expected to see Kane again, let alone here. She wanted the same thing we did. The data drive on Deimos. Better yet, she knew where it was. It was moved from the safe house to a CIA black station in the quarantine zone.
Did she say why Gojulan was trying to kill her?
It wasn't Gojulan. Julan was a puppet of Deimos, and Deimos wanted Kane dead. Guess he didn't like her very much.
Did you trust her?
No, not yet. Our guard was up, but if she could get us to the black station, it was worth a shot. The Singapore quarantine zone. We never thought we'd be back here.
Bad memories?
You know damn well it certainly wasn't good ones, Doc. The place was a living, breathing reminder of the incident 5 years ago. We'd be in and out quick. We weren't staying any longer than we had to. Find out who this Deimos asshole was and get the hell out of Dodge. Kane said the data drive on Deimos was encrypted and separated into 2 pieces. We needed both to access the drive. Like a lock and key.
The lock, I assume, was at the black station. Where was the key?
The key. That was down by the docks. Undead Central. Heavy hostiles. We brought a DNI-equipped micro-missile launcher. Couldn't be too careful. That and Command had prepped a drone strike to wipe out most of the dock. But with the high winds from the incoming superstorm, well, no guarantees it'd work. We grabbed our spike anchors in case we needed to be nailed down. After the docks, our rendezvous with Kane was set for an abandoned police station. Hendricks took point.
More vultures.
Preying on the weak. Since the fall of the Immortals, they'd inherited all of Singapore. Turned the place into some twisted version of the Wild West. After the events at the safe house, we caught their attention. They weren't exactly thrilled with us on their turf, and were taking it out on the locals to find us.
Why didn't you step in? You could have saved them.
Calculated risks. We needed to stay quiet and lay low.
But there's always a chance, isn't there?
Chance is a billion-sided die. You like the odds of that? If they didn't die today, they'd die tomorrow. If not tomorrow, the day after. One way or another, death was coming for all of us. Nobody was getting out alive. If we tried to save them, it could be our necks in those collars. We weren't there to save 2 people. We were there to save all the rest of us. We needed to get to the Black Station, raising as little alarm as possible. The last thing we needed were the dead and vultures after our throats. Turns out the odds were already stacked against us. The winds were picking up. The superstorm could hit at any moment. Good thing we grabbed those spike anchors. We were gonna need them. The plan was to wait on the drone strike. Once it did its part, we moved in. The missiles were infected. Wind too strong. And now that ocean liner looked like it was about to rip free. That thing would pulverize the dock, taking the data drive with it. Hendricks said, fuck it. We were built to kill the dead. No reason to switch it up now. We secured the first part of the drive and uploaded the information to Kane. Hendricks moved to sweep the wheelhouse. The howling wind told us we had to hit it fast and quick. But of course, the superstorm hit sooner than expected. The barge ripped free and barreled towards us. And hang on for dear life. We'd been set to rendezvous at an abandoned police station, but we were off route. We cut through the flooded subway to save time. With the dead cleared out, we moved toward our rendezvous. Turns out we weren't the only living things in there. A vulture got the drop on us, determined to reduce us to scrap metal. He'd hit a big payday with us cornered.
You were a payday to him? How so?
We were dead killers. You break us down to spare parts, you can fetch a pretty penny on the black market.
But you were there to fight the dead. You were an ally.
Maybe in 2070, when we were the saviors of mankind. By 2075, everybody wanted a piece of us. This guy would have gotten his share, too. But Kane did her part to make sure that didn't happen.
She was well trained. Was she CIA? Winslow Accord?
She was just someone who was always in the right place, at the right time. Before we could move on the Black Station, we had other problems.
What had gone wrong?
We hadn't taken the scavengers into account. They'd figured out they had dead killers in their midst. Kane told us they had a comms relay ahead. If we scrambled them, it could lead the vultures away from the Black Station, at least long enough for us to get what we needed.
So much for maintaining a low profile, I suppose.
What did I tell you? The thing about dead killers is there's always a plan B. You don't create the problems, just the solutions. You adapt to what's thrown at you.
Adapt or die.
Yeah. Adapt or die. We plan to regroup with Kane outside of Chinatown. With their comms scrambled, we had one less nuisance to deal with at the Black Station. Now to get the drive and get the hell out of this shithole.
You couldn't take being here, could you? You felt haunted coming back to this city.
The feeling had latched onto me at the safe house. Like I was being watched. Something had their eyes on me.
Something? Not someone?
And I just felt something pulling me, guiding me. I couldn't shake it. Our rendezvous with Kane was just ahead. By the time we rendezvoused with Kane, the dead were crawling all over the street.
What was Kane's plan?
Hit him in the gullet, then bag and tag. Gotta admit, the girl wasn't afraid of a fight. She seemed to welcome it, relish it.
Like yourself?
Like a berserker. Like a dead killer.
What did you find in the Black Station?
Slaughtered CIA staff. We weren't the only ones looking for the data drives. It was a gruesome scene. Kane quickly assembled the drive.
What did you learn? Did you find the information on Deimos?
We found a dossier. A diary, really. A living testament of what happened 15 years ago, and in the years since. It explained Project Corvus, a CIA mind control experiment. These scientists had combined two ancient biochemical compounds, Nova-6 and something called Element 115. They fused them together, created a chemical cocktail, and injected it through their test subjects' DNI. They wanted to control them.
Control them?
Those corpses, below coalescence in Project Corvus, they weren't patients. They were prisoners, the criminally insane. The scientists believed they could make them well again, make people better.
But instead, they opened the gateway.
A gateway to Malum. It's another dimension filled with absolute evil. It sounds crazy even saying it now, but they opened it not realizing what they'd done, and they let him through.
Deimos.
Deimos, demigod of dread and terror. He caused the Coalescence disaster, unleashed 6115 upon the world, creating the undead that roamed the earth. There were details on Taylor's team. They were working for Deimos. Helped him trigger Armageddon. There was also other information on his sister, Dolos, demigoddess of trickery and deception. Deimos, he didn't like her very much.
And the researcher? Did he have a name? Who wrote this document?
Yes, it was... Wait. Holy shit. Dr. Salim. It said Dr. Salim. It was you. You wrote the dossier on Deimos. You were the man behind Project Corvus. Why didn't you tell me? You created Project Corvus, wrote the report. You pulled me along like you had no clue what I was talking about.
If I had told you, the impact would not have been the same. You know that. That you could not recall is no fault of mine.
After the Black Station, we had to find you. Find out what you knew.
I was in Cairo at the time. Your friend, Khalil.
He brought you to Ramsey Station, humanity's last holdout in Egypt. We knew who Deimos was, where he was from, but we didn't know why. He'd taken over the world, but to do what? To find out why, we had to talk to you. Pieces were coming together. Virus 6115, Taylor's team, the undead. It all came back to Deimos. All we needed was you. Hendricks was unhinged. The idea his friends betrayed mankind to help a demigod. The concept alone was insane, let alone his friends' involvement. Kane was in it to the end. By now, she was as obsessed with stopping Deimos as we were. We weren't ready for Cairo, no matter what we thought. This place. If there was ever a place that was hell on Earth, this was it. It wasn't just the city. The entirety of northern Africa had fallen to the undead. The walls were covered with memories of the dead, those taken by 6115. Lost to this wasteland, the desert for the undead. It was the last place on Earth you'd want to be. But you chose to hide there. Why?
For that very reason. I hoped no one would come for me.
Why? What were you running from?
From what you sought. Deimos.
Khalil was waiting. He was holding you in an interrogation room.
How was Khalil? Happy to see you.
It wasn't a warm welcome. As far as he was concerned, We owed him one for grabbing you. More than a few men gave their lives to bring you in. He hoped it was worth it.
He was angry?
He was tired. Tired of fighting a losing battle. Khalil was a realist. He'd fight to the death for country. But he knew what was coming.
And what was coming?
Extinction. The undead changed everything. The NRC were hit first and hardest. We saw that in Ethiopia. The damage done by the dead didn't even take into account what the water wars did. When the continent dried up and the Nile River Coalition took war to Egypt over the Nile, the last water supply. They were so busy fighting they didn't realize it too had dried up. But the rise of the undead? How do you fight an enemy that doesn't need water? Khalil's rage wasn't misplaced. It wasn't personal. He was just barely holding on.
What did you hope to learn from speaking to me?
How to stop Deimos. Everyone has a weakness. The whole base was on edge. You could feel it in the air. The dead were moving on Ramses. An assault was imminent. Khalil didn't know how much time we had with you. Hendricks demanded to know why we weren't informed.
How did Khalil respond to his anger?
WA command was down. How was he meant to get his message through? Besides, they still had their dead system. They used to knock enemy aircraft out of the sky, but now they were used to eviscerate the undead. If any came too close, the laser cannons would take them out. Khalil led us to interrogation. He warned us our time was limited. No telling when the dead might attack. But if we could get answers out of you, maybe we could find a way to fight back. You certainly weren't too happy to see us.
You say it like I had a choice in the matter.
With no time, we needed you to be willing to talk. The truth serum would make you relax, more willing to divulge. Hendricks told us to take a walk. He asked about Taylor and Deimos. He wanted you to connect the dots.
And I told him Deimos controlled them. Your friend Bishop was correct. There was a brain manipulating the undead. It was Deimos. Deimos realized he could access a person's DNA. He could possess them, inhabit them, consume them. He didn't need to turn them.
Like puppets on strings.
The undead are mindless creatures, but Taylor's team, Gojulan, anyone with DNI, they could be hosts. They were slaves to do his bidding.
Hendricks wanted to know why. We both did.
For many years I had studied Deimos and his dimension Malum, a place of unspeakable evil. He had been pulled to Earth, yanked from his existence by accident. Trapped here, he saw opportunity to enslave humanity and use them to wage an unholy war against Dolos.
The demigoddess. His sister. That was it? We were just a chess piece? Our entire existence was just...
A pawn in a much larger game in a universe far bigger than you realize. Humanity is an anthill. Deimos and Dolos are two children fighting over the magnifying glass. But Hendricks was desperate. He wanted to know how to kill Deimos.
You told him he couldn't.
How does one kill a god? You can't. The only way to defeat him, the only way to sever his control over the undead, for Bishop Surum to work and save humanity, was to send him back to Malum.
And to do that, we needed to open the gateway.
As we are doing now by walking through your memories.
The assault on Ramses was beginning. The base was about to be overrun. Leo's studio was fading. Time to take the fight to the death. We weren't ready for the station assault. I don't know how the dead got in. Maybe an abandoned tunnel, an infected civilian, or maybe the vultures let them through. But at the end of the day, it didn't matter. Egyptian army came over comms. They'd never seen a horde this size move on the station. If we had any chance to stop them, we needed to reinforce the eastern checkpoint, a narrow passageway the dead would need to traverse to reach Ramses. Cairo. She was a city on fire. Except for the Egyptian army and a smattering of civilians hidden away. She'd fallen to the dead. Khalil didn't say it, but I could hear it in his voice. He knew this was the last stand. If they lost this battle, they'd lose the city.
What was Khalil's plan?
The undead were moving on the eastern checkpoint. A clear shot at Ramsey Station. The Egyptian army had rigged explosives below the street, but there were a few support columns we would need to take out first. We had the spike launcher for that.
You talked of his desperation, his total acknowledgement of futility. Yet here he was, staying and fighting.
What else was he going to do? If it wasn't today, it was tomorrow, or the day after that. We lost the war. The moment Diaz opened the quarantine zones, the moment Deimos entered our dimension, one way or another, death was coming for us all. But while we still could, we would fight. And right now, we had a checkpoint to defend. It was a simple, straightforward plan. Except... our VTOL was shot out of the sky. The mobile blockade fell early. It wasn't just the undead gunning for us. Cairo was a no-man's land, filled with the undead, rogue robotics, and scavengers. They were all converging on our position. If we were gonna pull this off, we didn't have time to fuck around. I grabbed the spike launcher and told Kane at HQ to locate the support columns for us to blow. detonated the last support column. We had to get back behind the wall so we could blow the street. Our triggerman got hit. I had to get up there and detonate. I told Hendricks I needed a moment. Good thing Hendricks still had our back. Khalil thanked us. He thought they still had a chance. They had no idea what was about to happen. Egyptian Army Command came over comms. A scavenger had blown a hole through Sophia Square, and the undead were pouring through, headed for Ramses. I told Khalil we'd take care of the square. I gave Hendricks a hand opening the VTOL hatch. I heard screams. There was someone still alive.
You went in to save this man? The odds of his survival could not have been great. You yourself said no one was getting out alive.
Does that matter? I guess it was Khalil who changed my mind. There were so few of us left. If there was a chance, any chance, I'd take it.
Strange. Even with all odds stacked against you, you tried to help this man. He clung to life without hope, and still you tried to save him.
Turns out it didn't matter. He didn't survive. It only be a matter of time before he turned and joined the Horde. No time to stop and mourn. If I did that, I'd end up joining him. And we weren't going down just yet. Cephia Square was a total snafu. Undead, rogue robotics, everything in the kitchen sink wanted a piece of us. It didn't take long for the vultures to drop a second ASP in the area. It was only a matter of time before a malfunctioning ASP arrived, ready to take out everyone and everything. We cleared the plaza, but something was wrong. I could hear it.
What did you hear?
Nothing. And that was the problem. It took us a moment to realize what had happened. Something had taken out the dead system. One of the scavengers, maybe a malfunctioning biped. We saw reinforcements fly in, but it was too late. Khalil tried to reach Egyptian command. All we heard were screams. Ramsey's station had fallen to the dead. We got out of the open. Khalil, he'd reached a breaking point. No mistaking that look. That look of defeat, anger, frustration, hopelessness. You try to sympathize, you try to comfort. Doesn't matter. Then Kane came over comms. She'd picked up the location of Sarah Hall, another of Taylor's team. Her signal popped back up on the grid. We had traced her to Kebeshet, the sandy ruins of Cairo's Garden City. I told Khalil if there was a sliver of hope, we needed to catch Hall and find Taylor. If we did, and found a way to send Deimos back to Malum, we could undo all of this.
And Hendrix?
His mind was melting. I still didn't know what was sparking his behavior. He didn't want to go after Hall. I said he didn't have a say in the matter. He didn't like that.
He attacked you.
I told you, it wasn't him. It was that look in his eyes, like Gojulan, like Moretti, like Diaz. He wasn't buying this interdimensional bullshit. And why should he?
What did he say to you?
Salim lies.
He didn't think opening the portal would save us. It would destroy us. The last time it opened, evil came through. Why would this time be different? He said Deimos was trying to trick us. He said you were lying to us. Are you? This is wrong. This is all wrong. You said opening the gateway would save humanity. It was the only way to defeat Deimos and send him back to Malum. But opening the gateway would let the forces of evil through, allow them to conquer Earth, enslave us. Wait, we didn't meet at Ramsey Station. That didn't happen. You're feeding me false memories.
Be careful, my child. Tread lightly, or you are liable to offend me.
We contacted Khalil, inquired about you. He said you were dead. You died some time ago. I saw you die. When I was with Hall, inside her mind, she showed me the truth. Who are you really, Doctor?